Hello, my name is Derek Burke, and I'm joined by my colleague Mark Carlson. We're system architects on the Enterprise Deployment Team in the GeoExperience Center. Today we're going to review how to perform ArcGIS Enterprise upgrades. If you've seen our other session on how to deploy ArcGIS Enterprise, we will also provide tips that we use every day in our role of managing hundreds of GIS environments for Esri's Global Business Development Division. Before we jump into how to upgrade ArcGIS Enterprise, let's take a few minutes to discuss why you would upgrade and some considerations to think through before doing so. Upgrading is a process of taking an existing version of the software that you have and moving it to a newer version. Upgrading maintains your existing content and configurations and can be applied to ArcGIS Enterprise-based deployments and server roles such as GeoEvent or GeoAnalytics. But why would we upgrade in the first place? Mainly to take advantage of the latest release benefits. These may include new features for functionality both in apps and in products, or it could be performance enhancements across ArcGIS Enterprise. You also may be on an older version of the software that's nearing the end of its life cycle. It's also important to be on newer releases to ensure that security updates and any product bug fixes have been addressed. One thing to think through is what version you're currently on and if that version can be upgraded to your desired version you want to move to. Sometimes you may need to perform what is called an indirect upgrade, which is upgrading to an intermediate version before you can upgrade to the desired version. Let's dive into this. On this chart, you see scenarios of upgrading from a version on the left-hand side and the target version that you're upgrading to listed on top.
Let's say you're at version 10.2.2 and you wish to upgrade to version 10.8. You would first need to upgrade your 10.2.2 version to 10.3 or later. This would be an example of an indirect upgrade.
Then you could perform your upgrade to 10.8. Another consideration to think through is app compatibility. You may have several apps added to your ArcGIS Enterprise. These could be Workforce for ArcGIS, or ArcGIS Insights, or Collector for ArcGIS, just to name a few. Some of these applications are on different release cycles than ArcGIS Enterprise. It's best to check the app compatibility in the documentation by reviewing each app and ArcGIS Enterprise requirements to ensure that you have compatibility between your application and ArcGIS Enterprise. For example, for ArcGIS Insights, you may want to take advantage of the latest Insights version, 2020.1. You would need to have 10.7 or higher for ArcGIS Enterprise to support that. Unfederating servers is not a step in upgrading your environment. Please don't do this. At 10.7, the portal license is changed and is a JSON file you'll need to upload to your portal. At 10.6.1, the ArcGIS Data Store is only supported as its managed database for the hosting server. This means if at previous releases you used an Enterprise GeoDatabase as the managed database, you'll need to switch to using the ArcGIS Data Store. There's documentation in enterprise.arcgis.com that runs through how to preserve your services if you have any published. This is done by registering the Enterprise GeoDatabase with ArcGIS Enterprise and then installing the ArcGIS Data Store as the managed database. It's also good practice to review member roles and user types of the version you are upgrading to prior to upgrade in the event that your users are assigned to a compatible user type.
For example, if you're running 10.5 through 10.6.1 and upgrading to 10.7 and beyond, your level 1 and 2 members will be assigned to a compatible user type, such as viewer and curator. It's always good to review this before upgrade to understand if any user type mappings will happen. If your machines are virtualized, whether in the cloud or on-premise, we highly recommend taking snapshots of the environment, including all disk volumes. Using snapshots will save you a lot of time and effort as they contain all content and configurations, and you can easily be reverted back to if needed. Next, verify those snapshots or backups work properly. Lastly, as each component has a backup method,
You should use the WebGIS DR tool, which backups your ArcGIS Enterprise portal items and settings, the hosted web layers, federated and hosting server settings, and hosted feature service data and hosted scene layer caches. Backup Data Store utility backs up all ArcGIS Data Store content. The ArcGIS Server uses the backup utility. And lastly, back up the content stores for ArcGIS Portal, ArcGIS Server, and the ArcGIS Data Store.
You have several options for automating upgrades. You can use whichever option best suits your organization. We'll work through each of these options in a few moments. We'll look at ArcGIS Enterprise Builder, AWS CloudFormation templates, ArcGIS Enterprise Cloud Builder for both Amazon Web Services and Azure, as well as advanced automation tools using Chef or PowerShell. The one aspect to keep in mind is if you have deployed ArcGIS Enterprise with one of these options, you would perform an upgrade with that same tool. For example, if you deployed with ArcGIS Enterprise Builder, then you would upgrade with ArcGIS Enterprise Builder versus Chef, for example.
When upgrading your ArcGIS Enterprise, it is recommended to upgrade the components in this order. First, Portal for ArcGIS component, the ArcGIS Web Adapter for Portal for ArcGIS, any web styles you may have, ArcGIS Server, ArcGIS Web Adapter for ArcGIS Server, the ArcGIS Data Store, and then finally, you can start upgrading your other server roles that you may have. And with this, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Carlson, and he's going to go into more detail and demo each of the upgrade options we just discussed.
All right, thanks, Derek. Let's review some specifics when upgrading Portal for ArcGIS. Please keep in mind that starting at version 10.7, the Portal license file is now a JSON file. Every API for Portal supports the JSON file. This file can be used in either the Home app, upgrading through the Portal admin site, or upgrading using the command line utility, or any of your own scripts. All options now require this JSON license file for the portal. Depending on the version you are upgrading to, will depend on what you see after the setup has completed. Just be aware that if you are manually upgrading the environment, you will need to complete this step after the setup has completed. Starting at 10.7, if your content store is on a file system, you do not need to run a manual reindex. However, if you are not upgrading to a release of 10.7 or higher, you will need to manually run a full reindex. This will ensure all new and existing content is searchable and allows Portal to know where to find the content. You will find the reindex by navigating to the Portal admin directory, then selecting Home, then System, then Indexer. Let's take a look at what this would look like after you have upgraded. Simply select the index status. After upgrading, you might see something similar to this. The counts in the store and the counts in the index are out of sync, and they are also displayed in red. So what you want to do is select Full for the mode, and then select Reindex. When the reindex has completed, you will be brought back to the index page. We now want to check to verify that the counts are back in sync. To verify the sync, we simply click on Index Status again. And we should be able to verify the counts in the store match the count in the index. Also, if you have configured the Living Atlas with your portal, depending on which version you are upgrading to, you may be required to upgrade this content as well. However, starting at 10.7, the Living Atlas content is upgraded automatically during the post-upgrade operation. If you are upgrading prior to 10.7, you will need to run this manually. Also, keep in mind that at our 10.6.1 release, the managed database registered with the hosting server is now required to be the ArcGIS Data Store. Enterprise geodatabases are no longer supported to be promoted to the managed data store for the hosting server. You can, however, still register Enterprise Geodatabase with ArcGIS Server. If you try to upgrade from a previous version with an Enterprise Geodatabase as the managed data store, you will not be able to promote the ArcGIS Server to the hosting server role. At versions 10.2 to 10.4.1, everyone in your portal was considered a member. Then, at versions 10.5 to 10.6.1, each user was either a level 1 or a level 2 user. And at 10.7, we introduced user types that included a viewer, editor, field worker, creator, and a GIS professional. So, what happens if you upgrade from a members version to a level version? If you only had a single member type compatible with level 2, then all your members are now level 2. What happens if you upgrade from a level version to a user type version? If you only had level 1 viewers and level 2 creators, then all your level 1 members become viewers, and all the level 2 members become creators. However, if you had level 1 and level 2 users assigned a variety of user roles, then the level 1 users will be assigned light temp users, and the level 2 users will be assigned standard temp users. This is an example of what you would see if your users have been assigned a temporary user role after the upgrade. You must assign users in these temporary user types to a user type that is available in the upgraded portal. Users will not be able to log into the portal if they have been assigned the temporary user. The portal administrator responsible for managing users in the portal must assign the available and appropriate user type to each user. Let's review a highly available portal for ArcGIS upgrade. Prior to 10.6.1, the portal standby machine needed to be unregistered prior to upgrading. Starting at 10.6.1, you no longer need to unregister the standby machine. However, you had to manually run the Continue Portal upgrade on the primary machine. Now, the feedback that we received was that it was confusing as to which machine to start the install and what if it causes a failover. Now we are not sure which one is the primary. So, starting at 10.7, we listened, and we changed it to where you do not need to be aware of which machine is primary and which one is standby. Also, you can now run the portal upgrade steps on either machine. Please keep in mind that we do not support upgrades from the 10.2 releases and back if you're upgrading to 10.8. You will receive an error if trying to upgrade from one of these older versions. If you have an older version, upgrade to an intermediate release of 10.3 or higher that can then be upgraded to 10.8. Now, let's review upgrading the web adapter. Take note of the web adapter context that you used at the previous version. You will be using the same name when configuring the updated web adapter. In a Windows deployment, this is located in Programs, and in Linux, you can find the name in the Web Apps folder. In both of these examples, the name for the portal web adapter is Portal, and the name for the server web adapter is Server. Upgrading to the new web adapter requires uninstalling the previous web adapter. Once the old web adapter is uninstalled, you can now install and configure the new web adapter. Starting at our 10.8 release, the WebSocket protocol is now required. As our software advances and offers more capabilities, we need to configure the underlying infrastructure to better support communications over the internet between a client and a server. For example, Workflow Manager, Notebook Server, and Mission Server rely on this protocol being configured. Next, let's review upgrading the ArcGIS Server. At our releases before ArcGIS Server 10.5, after installing the ArcGIS Server upgrade, there were no additional steps. The upgrade would be complete and ready to use. However, at the 10.5 release and beyond, there is a second step. You must proceed with the Continue Server upgrade. Once this is complete, your server will be upgraded and ready to use. Also, your hosting server must be at the same version as Portal. The other federated server roles need to be at a minimum of 10.5 and can be upgraded at a later time, unless the ArcGIS Server role has been promoted in Portal for a specific purpose, such as geoanalytics or raster analytics. Multi-clusters within an ArcGIS Server site are supported prior to the 10.7 release. However, starting at 10.7, multiple server clusters within an ArcGIS Server site are no longer supported. If you have a multi-cluster site defined, you can still upgrade. The upgrade process will just create a default cluster, if it does not already exist, and move all servers and services to the default cluster. When the upgrade is complete, you will need to manually review and start the ArcGIS services as the upgrade stops these services while moving to the default cluster. Again, you will only need to manually start the services if you're upgrading with multiple server clusters. Again, please keep in mind that we do not support direct upgrades from the 10.2 releases and back if upgrading to 10.8. You will receive an error if trying to upgrade from one of these older versions. If you have an older version, you will need to upgrade to a supported intermediate version that can then be upgraded to the desired version. Next, let's look at upgrading the ArcGIS Data Store. Please make sure and review the latest online documentation for upgrading the ArcGIS Data Store. You can find it on our enterprise.arcgis.com and search Portal for ArcGIS. Then select Upgrade ArcGIS Data Store and review how to prepare the ArcGIS Data Store before upgrading. It is important to note that you need to review the documentation for the ArcGIS Data Store. Starting at 10.6, you can no longer perform an uninstall and install upgrade. You will need to perform an in-place upgrade. If you are upgrading prior to 10.7, you are required to upgrade the primary data store prior to upgrading the standby data store. However, starting at 10.7, you can upgrade from either the primary or standby data store. You will just need to run the install on all data store machines. For the relational and tile cache data store, the primary and standby machines, and for the spatial temporal data stores, you will run the install on all spatial temporal data store machines. Do not uninstall the ArcGIS Data Store before installing. Also, only run the configuration command from one of the data store machines to initiate the upgrade. Just to review, starting at 10.7, you install the new version on all data store machines. You will then only need to run the configure data store on one of the machines to initiate the upgrade. After upgrading the tile cache data store to 10.8, there is no longer the distinction of primary and standby machines. You now have the option to add multiple machines to the tile cache data store. You should, however, have an odd number of machines, so if you had an HA configuration with 2 machines allocated for your tile cache, it is recommended adding a third machine. By customer demand, starting at 10.8, we now support the use of group managed service accounts. If you manually configured the group managed account to run the ArcGIS services, the 10.8 upgrade will recognize this account and will be displayed as shown here. However, you cannot change to a group managed service account during the upgrade. Create backups. I cannot emphasize this enough. And validate your restore procedures prior to upgrading. Also, before upgrading the data stores, you want to make sure nothing is trying to write to the data stores during the upgrade. If you have a GeoEvent server or a GeoAnalytics server in your ArcGIS environment, you will need to confirm that they are not writing to the data stores. Also, if you have enabled location tracking in Portal, you can simply pause the location tracking during the upgrade. Again, create a backup prior to upgrading. So let's review some validation steps you can take to verify the upgrade was successful. We recommend that your checks should include these steps. First, log into your enterprise portal and confirm that all the federated servers validate. Then check the portal index status by navigating to the portal admin directory. Even though starting at 10.7 the reindex happens at the post install, it is good practice to make sure the tables are in sync. Also, check the TLS settings, as these may need to be updated. The next step is to publish items to your portal. Add content to the portal. This can be a shapefile or a CSV. You just want to confirm you can publish items in your portal and the hosting server. Also, publish items using your common workflows such as ArcGIS Manager, or publish with ArcGIS Pro and or ArcMap. Again, if you are upgrading to 10.7 or higher, you may also need to reassign members to a valid user type that have been assigned a temporary user. Let's review how to manually upgrade an ArcGIS Enterprise-based deployment in Linux. The Linux machine we will be upgrading is Ubuntu 18.04 with Tomcat 9, and all the components of ArcGIS Enterprise have been installed manually. This includes the web adapters, portal for ArcGIS, ArcGIS Server, and the relational data store. Let's first review our upgrade steps. As mentioned earlier, we recommend upgrading your enterprise environment in a particular order. These steps can also be found in our online documentation by navigating to enterprise.arcgis.com and searching Upgrade. Simply clicking on the link to upgrade ArcGIS Enterprise, you will find our upgrade documentation for ArcGIS Enterprise. You can also select what version it is that you'll be upgrading to, along with the operating system. In our case, we will be upgrading Linux. Scrolling down will give us all of the information we need to have a successful upgrade. And here are the steps we will be following to upgrade. We will first upgrade Portal for ArcGIS, then the Portal web adapter, followed by ArcGIS Server, then the Server web adapter, and then upgrade the data store. So let's take a look at the ArcGIS Enterprise environment we'll be upgrading. Here I have signed in with my site admin account. Let's verify that our federated server validates. We can go over to our settings, servers, and as you can see, our ArcGIS server is successfully federated with Portal. We can also take note that it has been set as our hosting server. Next, let's validate our data store. Simply clicking on the server, we go to Site, Data Stores, select the data store, and then click Validate. As you can see, our data store validates. If any of these initial checks did not validate, we would need to fix the issues prior to upgrading. Since we have determined our environment is in good health, we will take a backup of the environment prior to upgrading. We are now ready to log into the Linux machine. I am logged into the machine with the user that installed the ArcGIS software. I have also downloaded the necessary files for my Ubuntu machine and have them located in a folder named Esri 1080. Let's navigate to the folder and examine the contents. As you can see, I have the Linux compressed tar files copied to the folder. I have extracted all of them except the web adapter. Let's extract the web adapter tar file. Entering the command tar-xvzf and the file name will extract the files to my current location. We now have the web adapter folder that has been created when we extracted the web adapter tar file. The tar files are no longer needed for the upgrade, so we will remove them. This will also free up some needed disk space for the specific machine. You can view the amount of disk space with the df-h command. This displays the amount of disk space available on your machine. Just verify you have enough space as required to complete the upgrade. We are now ready to start our upgrade. As we reviewed earlier, we recommend upgrading Portal for ArcGIS first. Let's navigate to our Portal for ArcGIS folder and list the contents. To begin the upgrade, all we need to do is run the setup utility. The utility detects the current version of Portal for ArcGIS and displays its installation path. After confirming this information, we will enter Y to continue the upgrade. This process may take a few hours to complete, depending on the size of your environment. For demo purposes, I have fast-forwarded my wait times. Once the installation is complete, we need to continue the portal upgrade by either navigating to the provided URL in a web browser, or we can use the command line utility to continue the portal upgrade. This utility is located in the Tools folder under Portal. Let's change our directory to the folder Upgrade Portal and run the utility. Simply type the command upgradeportal.sh and provide the new 10.8 license file location. The S will run this command silently. When we execute the command, we will be prompted with the status of the utility. Now that Portal for ArcGIS has successfully been upgraded, we need to upgrade the Portal web adapter. First, we need to uninstall the old web adapter. Navigating to the old web adapter, we will find the uninstall utility under the Java folder. Simply execute the uninstall command to uninstall the old web adapter. Next, we need to install the new 10.8 web adapter. Again, simply navigating to our 10.8 web adapter folder, execute the setup command. We will add a few parameters to the command to run silent, accept the license agreement, and provide the directory of where we want to install. Once installed, let's review the new ArcGIS.war file that we will use to copy to Tomcat. To view the existing WAR files in Tomcat, we need to switch to the root user and navigate to the Web Apps folder under Tomcat. Here, we can list the existing files. Since we are currently upgrading Portal, we need to delete the Portal files in this location. But first, we need to stop Tomcat. Once Tomcat is stopped, we can remove the files. Next, we need to copy the new ArcGIS.war file to this location. We simply copy the ArcGIS.war file and paste with the updated name of portal.war. Now we just need to start Tomcat. When Tomcat starts, it will create the Portal folder for the web adapter. Now, let's configure the web adapter. We just need to exit out of the root user and navigate to the new web adapter tools folder. Here, we execute the configure web adapter utility with the proper parameters that are configured for our Portal environment. We are then prompted with a successfully registered. We can now move on to upgrading ArcGIS Server. Navigating back to our Esri 10.8 folder and opening the ArcGIS Server folder, we can run our setup command utility for ArcGIS Server. We also need to include a parameter for the location of the new ArcGIS Server license file. After we execute the command, the setup utility recognizes our current release of ArcGIS Server that is currently installed, and it also provides the installation location. After confirming the information, we can continue the upgrade by entering Y, then enter. Once complete, we need to continue the ArcGIS Server upgrade by either navigating to the provided URL in a web browser, or we can use a command line utility to continue the ArcGIS Server upgrade. This utility is located within the tool folder under Server. We then change our directory to the Upgrade Server folder and run the Upgrade Server utility. When we execute the command, we will be prompted with the status of the utility. Now that the ArcGIS Server has been successfully upgraded, we need to upgrade the ArcGIS Server web adapter. Since we already installed the 10.8 web adapter for Portal, we only need to update the server.war file in Tomcat. We will stop Tomcat and delete the existing server files in the web apps folder. Next, we will copy the 10.8 ArcGIS.war file to this location. We simply copy the ArcGIS war file and paste with the updated name of server.war. Now we need to start Tomcat. When Tomcat starts, it will create the server folder for the web adapter. Now, let's configure the web adapter. We just need to exit out of the root user and navigate to the 10.8 web adapter tools folder. Here we execute the configure web adapter utility with the proper parameters that are configured for our server environment. We are then prompted with a successfully registered server. We can now move on to upgrading the ArcGIS Data Store. Navigating back to our Esri 10.8 folder and opening the ArcGIS Data Store Linux folder, we can run our setup command utility for the ArcGIS Data Store. We simply execute the setup utility. After we execute the command, the setup utility recognizes our current release of our ArcGIS Data Store that is installed and also provides the install location. After confirming the information, we can continue the upgrade by entering Y, then enter. Once complete, we need to continue the ArcGIS Server upgrade by either navigating to the provided URL in a web browser, or we can use a command line utility to complete the configuration of the upgraded data store. This utility is located within the tool folder under Data Store. Executing the command configure datastore.sh and passing the parameters for our hosting server and selecting the data store we are configuring will start the last step of the data store upgrade. Once complete, we can validate our relational data store is successfully registered by executing the described data store utility. This provides us some details about our relational data store. Now we just need to validate our upgrade by navigating to our environment in a web browser. Let's log into our newly upgraded portal site with our site admin account. To validate our hosting server, let's go to Settings and then click Servers. We can now validate our federated hosting server. We can also validate our relational data store by clicking on the server to open Server Manager and selecting Site. Click Data Stores, then validate the registered relational ArcGIS data store. We can also view the new license file by selecting Software Authorization. We can see the correct 10.8 version and the expiration date. We can also check the license file for Portal for ArcGIS by navigating to the Portal admin location and simply click License. Here, we can review the details about the Portal license we used for our upgrade. Your next steps could include publishing data to the portal and validating your workflows successfully execute. The final step is to take a new backup of your environment. We just reviewed how to upgrade an environment manually. However, we also have tools available that automate upgrades. To take advantage of the automated upgrades, you must use the same tool you used to deploy your environment. If you used the ArcGIS Enterprise Builder to deploy starting at 10.6, then you simply use the ArcGIS Enterprise Builder to upgrade. And if you use the ArcGIS Enterprise Cloud Builder for AWS to deploy, then you will use the ArcGIS Enterprise Cloud Builder for AWS to upgrade. Additionally, if you used any of the AWS CloudFormation templates, you can visit this site that provides the upgrade steps available for using the AWS ArcGIS templates. And if you use the ArcGIS Enterprise Cloud Builder for Microsoft Azure, you will then use the ArcGIS Enterprise Cloud Builder for Azure to upgrade.
We covered a lot of topics today around upgrading the ArcGIS Enterprise, including taking a step back and covering the core benefits of moving to a newer version. We also reviewed some considerations and practices to perform before you upgrade, including backing up virtual machines and individual components. Lastly, we discussed and demonstrated options available for automating upgrades, including ArcGIS Enterprise Builder, CloudFormation templates, ArcGIS Enterprise Cloud Builder for Amazon Web Services and Azure, as well as automation tools like Chef and PowerShell. For more information on the topics we covered today, you can visit the ArcGIS Enterprise Upgrade documentation topics, as well as documentation for both ArcGIS Enterprise on Microsoft Azure and Amazon Web Services. We hope that you found this presentation helpful in understanding upgrading ArcGIS Enterprise. We'll now open up the question and answer portion of the presentation. Thank you.